Who was Lilith, Adam's first woman? The book of Genesis tells us about the creation of man and woman. Adam formed from the dust of the earth, and Eve shaped from his rib to be his companion. This is the official narrative preserved in the Bible. But in ancient Jewish texts and Middle Eastern traditions, another story emerges. In this version, the first woman was not Eve, but Lilith. Created from the same dust of the earth as Adam, she considered herself his equal. Yet by refusing submission, she left the Garden of Eden and came to be remembered as a night spirit, an enemy of life and a symbol of rebellion. Over the centuries, Lilith has been portrayed as a demon, a myth, and even an archetype of independence. Her story continues to inspire both fascination and controversy. But who was Lilith really? Why is her name absent from the Bible? And what can these traditions reveal about the earliest chapters of humanity? Today, we will dive into the legend and mysteries of Lilith, the enigmatic first woman of Adam. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you can keep up with all our upcoming stories. Long before the Bible was organized as we know it today, the peoples of the ancient Near East carried myths and legends about spirits that roamed the night. Among the Sumerians, Akkadians, and Babylonians, stories were common of female beings linked to darkness, seducing men, threatening pregnant women, and stealing the lives of newborns. Among these myths were figures like Lamashtu and Lilith, described as dangerous entities that haunted households. From this cultural context arose Lilith, whose name seems to derive from these ancient traditions. In other words, before being linked to Adam, she already existed as a feared night spirit, warded off with rituals and amulets. Over time, some of these beliefs blended into Jewish tradition. Writings such as the Talmud and, later, the alphabet of Ben Sira shaped a new portrait of Lilith as Adam's first wife. Thus, an ancient myth of night spirits was reinterpreted in dialogue with the biblical creation account. Lilith as the first woman. In Genesis, Eve is introduced as Adam's first companion, formed from his rib. But in later traditions, especially in the alphabet of Ben Sira, a different and intriguing version appears. Before Eve, there was Lilith. According to this narrative, Lilith was not shaped from Adam's rib, but created from the same dust of the earth as Adam. For her, this meant she was not inferior, but equal to him. This equality of origin reflected in her posture. Lilith refused to be dominated and rejected any form of submission. This conflict led to the first rupture of Eden. When Adam insisted on authority over her, Lilith refused to obey and pronounced the ineffable name of God, which gave her the power to leave the garden and flee. At that moment, her figure diverged radically from Eve's. While Eve was shaped to be a helper, Lilith became a symbol of defiance. Some versions say that after Lilith's departure, Adam remained alone until God formed Eve from his rib, symbolically ensuring harmony through female submission. Thus, Lilith, by leaving Eden, became a troubling counterpart, a reminder of a woman who refused her condition. This legend not only explains her absence from Genesis, but also begins her association with rebellion, feminine power, and a break from order. Transformation into a night spirit. After leaving Eden, Lilith did not disappear from Jewish tradition. On the contrary, she was reinterpreted with an even darker role. From defiant woman, she became a feared night spirit associated with death, seduction, and chaos. The Talmud mentions Lilith as a dangerous entity that prowled men at night, especially to seduce them in dreams. In other accounts, she appears as an enemy of pregnant women, attacking newborns or bringing sickness. This portrayal closely aligned her with Mesopotamian myths of female demons tied to nighttime dangers. Archaeological finds of Jewish amulets bear inscriptions asking for protection against Lilith. These were placed in the rooms of pregnant women or infants to ward off her influence. This shows how Lilith was not just a distant myth but part of daily life, fueling fears and rituals. Her transformation into a demon reinforced her exclusion from biblical tradition. Instead of remembered as Adam's partner, she was fixed in cultural memory as a threat to life and the household. The original myth merged with fear, and Lilith came to personify all that was outside order and security. Exclusion from the biblical canon. If Lilith was so present in Jewish traditions and popular beliefs, why is she absent from the Bible? The answer lies in the formation of the canon and the message religious leaders sought to preserve. Genesis presents Eve as the first woman, created from Adam's rib as his companion. This narrative emphasized harmony and complementarity, where man and woman had defined roles within God's plan. Lilith, however, represented disruption, a woman who refused obedience and abandoned Eden. Including her story would have undermined the intended message of order. Furthermore, her demonic image made her inclusion even less acceptable. The scribes and teachers of the law preferred to maintain Eve as the model wife and mother, excluding any parallel narrative that challenged this ideal. Thus, Lilith remained on the margins, circulating in oral traditions, legends, and extra-biblical writings, but never attaining scriptural status. Paradoxically, this silence only increased curiosity about her. Lilith became the shadow of creation, the omitted version of the story. It is precisely this contrast between the official narrative and the forgotten myth that has kept Lilith alive through the centuries. Modern reinterpretations of Lilith. Over time, Lilith shifted from being just a medieval myth of fear to being rediscovered in new cultural contexts. From the 19th century onward, scholars revisited ancient texts about her, reigniting interest in this forgotten figure. In the 20th century, Lilith was reinterpreted by literary, artistic, and social movements. Writers and poets recast her as a symbol of freedom and resistance, highlighting her refusal to submit to Adam as an act of courage and self-assertion. What had once been branded rebellion and sin began to be seen as independence and a fight for equality. In feminist movements, Lilith became a powerful archetype. She was adopted as an icon of the woman who refuses domination, representing female strength against patriarchal tradition. Unsurprisingly, journals, study groups, and even organizations took her name as a banner of empowerment. This shift demonstrates Lilith's versatility. What was once feared as a threat is now celebrated as inspiration. Across centuries, Lilith evolved from demonic myth into a mirror for modern debates on identity, equality, and freedom. The fascination with Lilith today. Today, Lilith continues to spark both fascination and controversy. She appears in books, films, series, and even music, always tied to mystery and female power. Her image oscillates between the dark and the inspiring. For some, she is still the demonic figure who threatens order. For others, an icon of liberation and defiance. In popular culture, Lilith often appears as the mother of demons, a seductive and dangerous presence. But in artistic and spiritual movements, she is reinterpreted as a symbol of inner strength, resistance to oppressive systems, and the pursuit of autonomy. Lilith's story is both an enigma and a mirror. Enigma because she never entered the biblical canon, yet survived through myths and symbols for centuries. Mirror because she reflects the fears, conflicts, and aspirations of every age that remembered her. In antiquity, she was feared as a night spirit. In the Middle Ages, she became a demon tied to chaos and death. In modern times, she was reimagined as a symbol of resistance and independence. Each generation has seen in Lilith something of itself, sometimes a danger, sometimes an inspiration. Perhaps this is Lilith's greatest mystery, her power to survive on the margins, never fully forgotten. Though absent from Genesis, her name still echoes, provoking debate, inspiring reflection, and sparking imagination. I hope this video has been helpful to you. If it was, please give it a like. It really helps us reach more people. If you have any thoughts or ideas to share, we'd love to read them in the comments. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss our upcoming videos. Thank you so much for watching, and may God bless you.